And welcome back, everybody. We're going to talk about something today that some agree with, some, I believe, their jury's still out on how important this is. We're going to talk about self-love. What does that mean? How does it change your life once you practice it and understand it? It does make a huge difference, and we'll explain. Actually, she'll explain. She is a Law of Assumption Church founder of Dear Beautiful Soul, helps people all the time, especially. I don't know if I'm going on a limb here. I'm gonna say her specialty is manifestation as well. And she's back with us. Susan Carabello joins us here on the program. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm gratified that we're talking about this thing called self-love.
Yes.
How do you define it?
So self-love is really how you see yourself. It's your self-concept, but it's also your habits, how you treat yourself, your self-talk. Again, all those things make up our self-concept, and our self-concept is our I am. It's our ID. It's how we identify ourselves. It's our list of beliefs. It's how we carry ourselves, and self-love is all a big part of your self-concept.
Hmm. I didn't think you were going to say that. I thought we were going to go, and I totally get what you're saying. Some call
Yeah.
that your standards,
Mm-hmm.
might be
Yeah.
that, your values,
Yes.
how you conduct yourself, how you react to certain situations, um, what you stand for, because you stand for these things because you care about yourself. And these
Right.
are the boundaries you put. I just got off the phone with a credit card company and there was fraud reported. And they're handling it in such a ridiculous way. Phone call after phone call. They don't even know what they're doing. I never get angry. I'm like so chill. I'm like, I'm not happy. This is
Right.
not, you've got my name attached to fraud. You've already identified it. And I got a little, well, in a nice way. You
Yeah.
really guys got to take care of it over here. You're like, what are you guys
Right.
doing over there? And that's my thing. Right is right. That's my not my thing. I
Yeah.
didn't, and the thing that kind of missed me, if you will, I changed. They had to replace my credit card 3 weeks ago, and somebody still used the old number. What's going on, people? So for me,
Yeah.
that's when things are not done right. And
Yes.
that's one of my standards, call it
Uh,
that, you know. And I guess I care about my reputation in the fraud
mhm.
situation. So, but I thought it would also be you have to love yourself
Yes.
before
And
you can love
love,
others.
yes, 1,000%.
Okay.
But the way we love ourselves is really through our self-concept, how we see ourselves. So if we don't see ourselves as valuable, right, is that really an act of self-love? No, right? Because we are born, our birthright is to be loved, to be successful, to be vibrant and alive. And if we're not living up to those standards because we have these other beliefs that tell us opposite to that, it's really it's not self-loving at all. It's actually self-defeating. Like we're listening to these stories about ourselves and believing these stories that are not true because we're used to the story, right? So self-love is really coming back to who we are, right? So it's again, I think we had this conversation the last time. Self-love is, loving yourself before you can love somebody else, but it's identifying what stories we're telling us or telling ourselves, excuse me, that are masking us from truly loving who we are. We have the right to be loved just as much as everybody else on this planet.
Would it be safe to assume that if we didn't deal with things from the past, traumas, relationships, childhood, all of that stuff, all of us would totally love ourselves?
Yes, I would agree with that statement. And again, it's not just my childhood. We're talking about generations, right? Like if we're looking at money, I think we spoke about this the last time,
Yes.
right? Like my previous generation saved all their money in like mattresses, right? And then you learned that behavior because somebody else was doing it, right? We're learning based on the models that were provided to us. So not right or wrong. It's just it is what it is. But now can we look at ourselves and that we know that yes, we have the right to be abundant and to be successful, to be loved, to be everything we desire in this lifetime. but can we step away from the story that we have about ourselves, right? Imagine you had something happen to you, on the playground when you were 5 and Timmy Jones made fun of you because of a shirt that you were wearing. Suddenly you're not wearing yellow shirts anymore because somebody on the playground made fun of you, right? You make that, if that was a traumatic event for you, and again, trauma doesn't have to be something big, it can be something minor, but it's anything that's going to leave an imprint on who you are, right? So,
I wasn't 5. I was 8. Yes,
but
and
it's an
and
imprint. So suddenly you're not wearing a yellow shirt because Timmy Jones made fun of you. But mind you, yellow is your favorite color, right?
well,
I'm sorry.
I was the fat kid that got bullied, and yes, and
Same
it
here.
it
I
had
raised.
say again.
I said I raised my hand. It was the same thing here. I think I was called Thunder Thighs for a good part of my seventh grade. So,
I my Casper the Friendly Ghost lunchbox was be thrown out of the bus window all the time.
oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
and it I'm going to tell you straight up that it had an impact on my younger adult life. And even,
Yes.
there was threads throughout my life in terms of confidence and all of that. But it was also connected to some, other things that, that we all have stuff going on,
Yes.
as we grow up. But yeah. So what does that story, those stories in our lives tell us that maybe we're not good enough? Maybe we're seen a certain way.
Exactly. Yes, and that's exactly it. These stories, again, they don't have to be big. They could just be something very small, but it's enough to leave an impact on your I am, which is who you are, your self-concept. So when you get to your adult life, you get triggered by, someone named Timmy Jones. It's like, oh, yeah, and you react in such a manner that it's like, oh
Sure.
my God, Timmy Jones is this, but like it's when you come back and you really stop and when you're reacting in that moment and look back, it's like, okay, well, what's really going on? And then you kind of see the pattern that ties Timmy Jones to an event that happened when you were 5 or 8 or whatever. And again, this is just an example.
Sure.
But what happens is as we become adults and we start to, check in with ourselves and check in with our patterns and how we want to move in the world, it's starting to dissect those stories and determine, is this really me? Is this really who I decide I am? Or is this a story that I've just been carrying with myself for so long that I need to break the pattern and break the cycle? And that is one of the greatest acts of self-love, right? It's taking that story, stripping it, and start releasing it from your system, releasing the story that maybe I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I look horrible in the color yellow, right? Because you've created a story around it. But at any point, you can change that story and be like, you know what? That's not who I am. And I'm not playing that story anymore. I'm not going to repeat that story. I'm good enough. I'm going to wear yellow and I'm going to rock it when I go out. Right? It's that. It's dissecting those stories and coming back to who we truly are is the biggest act of self-love. It's loving yourself enough to walk through the uncomfortableness, to walk through those situations where it's uneasy, to sit in those situations where you kind of want to get up and throw in the towel and walk away, but it's like, on the other side something greater is going to happen. But how much can you sit in that story because it's really persisting in the new story because on a deep soul level who you truly are.
Do you find that when you, lack of a better word, master this a little bit more, that
Mhm.
when those things come up, you're able to reframe it faster?
Yeah,
Example, if
100%.
in your past, whether you got bullied or whatever happened to you, you had a certain view of yourself,
Right.
self-confidence, it
Mhm.
kind of lower at times. And let's say as an adult now, you look in the mirror, you're like, what was that? Wow. And then for half a day, you're like, every time you see the mirror, you're like, that's like you could land a plane on that. But then you reframe it and then you walk back and you're like, you can't even see it. It's so tiny. What the heck am I worried about? Like it quickly
Yeah.
changes.
And that's it, right? So there's a term called quantum jumping. And basically, I'm going to make it easy for everybody to understand is that you can jump from one reality to another based on your perspective about things. So looking in the mirror and you see something on your forehead, in one moment you could be like, oh my God, it's so huge. Everybody can see it. I'm going to go get makeup. And you really put all this energy behind it, right?
Yeah.
Again, I think we spoke the last time that whatever you focus on grows, right? So in a moment like that, can you shift the perspective quick enough to be like, you know what? It's not a big deal. I'm not going to give my energy to it because in that moment, what you do is you basically pull the weed up from the root, you throw it out and be like, I'm not serving this story anymore. I know who I am. It's no big deal. And I'm going to rock this thing on my forehead and I'm going to keep going. Right. It's that perspective shift. And you do it in each and every moment based on the decisions that you make. You do it every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I don't know if this is going to make sense, but I found that when you get past all of this, you figure out the self-love thing,
Mhm.
you know what you want. What you want is clearer,
Mhm.
like
Yes.
crystal clear. Like I, in my life right now, I know what I want. I know what I need. There's no backing down. I won't back down. I know what it is. That's it. It's done. I already see it. It's not here yet. It's coming, and I believe it.
Well, that's the beauty of it. Like, so there's a saying that the universe loves a stubborn heart. So
Say
when
that.
you
Say that
know
again. I want to make sure I heard that.
the universe loves a stubborn heart. So when you fully know who you are and you step in, the universe has to shift, right? The universe is like, okay, he knows who he is. He knows what he wants. He's very clear on it. He's now embodying that state of being every single day. You know, the universe is suddenly going to move. Like, I think the term is the universe will move a door where it was closed yesterday, right? To make things come into your existence, to come into your reality, because everything is always just imagined before it actually shows up into your physical reality. But it's based
Hmm.
on your I am, the beliefs that you have about yourself. So the reason why I talk about self-love is because when you truly know who you are, you love yourself enough to do things differently, to stand differently, to embody yourself differently, regardless of what's going on around you. Like you're not following what society says you need to do. You're listening to you. You're trusting that intuitiveness within your heart. You're listening to what the cues of your body are. You're listening to what your mind is telling you, and it's working in your favor this time. So it's shifting, right? That is the one of the greatest act of self-love is discipline, like discipline, and discipline comes when you start to listen to that story and to go all in, right? To stand firm, to be clear, to know what it is that you want and what you don't want, and just stand there like a big old oak tree and not waver. Right? You just decide, here I am, this is me, and i'm not I'm not changing,
Hmm.
and the universe will shift.
How do you know that you've arrived in the place where you want to be, where you've hit the mark of self-love, all of that? How do you know you're there?
And this is a practice. You got to get up every day and believe in who you are. And when you finally get there, it's just a knowing. It's the only way to describe it. You just know that you've arrived. You're not doubting who you are. You're not. You literally are not worrying about the past. You're not overthinking the future. You are fully present in this moment. You show up every single day as that person. You're not questioning yourself. You're not doubting yourself. You're not listening to the past stories. You are literally just, you're centered, you're clear, and you just know. You know that that this is it and that you're here. And that's the only way to describe it.
I get it. I I don't know if I've are you there?
I'm here.
Are you there?
Oh yeah, I'm here. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Have I arrived in that space?
That's what
A
I'm saying.
thousand percent. Yeah,
Okay.
a
Um,
thousand.
in my journey, I believe I'm there. For the most part, I'm going to share something. It's probably going to, and only you would understand.
Mhm.
I'm at the gym last week. I'm listening to different songs. I'm very into music. I'll, don't be in the car with me because it's going to change every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So I put on, I don't know if last time we get together, I shared this. I don't think I did. I put on, or he came on The Doors and Touch Me. Never liked it as a kid. It's an okay song. Recently, I've been liking it more. And I
Mhm.
listen to the lyrics, can't sing, but it's like, well, I'm gonna love you till the
Yeah.
stars fall from the sky. Well, I'm gonna love you, blah, blah, blah. And I was always thinking, I was like, well, that'd be a great song to sing to somebody. And then I had epiphany as I'm at the gym. I think I was doing stretches at the moment, that that song was me to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I was like, ah,
It's just reminding you of who you are. Like that's the journey of life, right? Like we're all born with the same capabilities to create the life that we want. And that is true across the board. But when we grow up, we learn from our parents, we learn from our colleagues, we learn from our friends, we learn from our teachers, our religious educators, our police officers, social media, the news, right? We learn what is right, what is wrong. But when in doing that, at times we are not listening and trusting to what is best for us, right? So we stop listening to what our body and our minds are telling us that we need to do, and we're listening to what's around us. But when the outside becomes stronger than the inner world, is where it becomes, I don't want to say a problem, but that's the challenge, right? The challenge is now to stop listening to the outside world and start creating from in here. So the journey of life is really letting go of everything you've learned and start learning from the one person standing in front of the mirror every single day, which is you. So when that song you said came on at the radio and you felt like it was a song to yourself, absolutely, because you're coming back to you. You know who you are, and you trust everything that you're becoming in this life.
it's kind of profound when you look at it. And I'm not looking for it. And just
Yes.
like, I would dedicate that song to somebody, but it was like, no, that's for you, dude. That's you singing to you. And it's like, the lyrics are, can't you see that I am not afraid? It's like,
Yeah.
ah, that makes sense too. When you start
Well,
looking
and
at it.
it's funny, so if you think about it, when Jim Morrison, right, he probably was singing it. Can you imagine him saying that to himself? Like
We
you,
don't know.
you don't know, but like he's probably singing it to the masses. But it's really just a lot of times if you take yourself out of it and go into the mirror and actually sing that song to yourself, like what a different reaction you would get, right? And that's the embodiment. That's like going into the mirror, like, and I do this every morning. I go in and say how grateful I am for the person in front of the mirror. I say thank you for being, great today. Thanks for doing a great job. Thanks for taking us on a walk. Thanks for going to the gym. Like whatever it is, because you need to validate yourself. And inside of you is your inner child, right? And your inner child is been with you since the day that you arrived on this earth. So at times as we grow up, that inner child is still there, still needs that love, compassion, that nurturing from us. And
Yeah.
the best part that we can give that to ourselves on a daily basis. It's just going into the mirror, excuse me, and saying, "Great job. I'm so proud about how you handled that today." Right. And acknowledging that. And in doing that, like you start to learn to love yourself even more, right? Because then you're not looking for the validation from the world outside of us, right? You're not looking for the validation from your boss, your partner, your friends, your
Right.
family. It's like you can provide that to yourself on a daily basis. And in doing that, it's a wonderful feeling. It's different. And that's when you know that you finally have embodied that state of being where it's like, yeah, like I'm good. I didn't get the job. Great. You know what? Another job will come along, right?
Yeah.
Because you finally embodied who you were truly meant to be. And loving yourself is the key to getting there.
It's like you have this newfound confidence in yourself. Like you're standing
Mhm.
on a foundation at that moment. And like they say, I think it was Tom Cruise movie, you complete me. You
Yes.
complete me. Forget about that. That's
Yeah.
the probably the worst thing that you could ever say, that somebody else completes you. I
Yeah.
like to say, you compliment me, but no,
Exactly.
only you can complete you.
Exactly. Because if in that moment you're saying that I'm not complete just as I am,
Right.
and you
I
are, you
I need
are.
somebody else to do that for
I
me.
need somebody else to fill that void within me
Right.
when this whole journey, at least for me, this awakening process is really coming back to myself, right? It's, making that conscious note that, whatever I was looking for outside of myself is really within me. Like, I need to complete me. And in doing that, you attract everything that you want in life. You attract the partner who now doesn't complete you, but that is your perfect match. You find the job that fills your soul, right? So you have the job over here. You're now embodying that state of being that, like, yeah, I'm good. I know what I'm doing. I'm trusting my intuition. I'm listening to myself. I'm showing up every day as this person. And what happens? You find the perfect job that is the perfect complement to who you're being. It is like that with everything, even like the home, the car, the the job, the relationship, the friendships, the travel. Everything is just a pure reflection of who you are. And a lot of times we think that it's out there that we're looking for something when it's really right in here. And we can
Well,
give ourselves everything.
you look at millionaires, bazillionaires,
Mhm.
and many of them are unhappy. They have all this money, they have everything they could ever want, but inside they're an empty shell. And many times we look, you think you've attained the status of the big house on the hill, the white
Mhm.
fence, the happy spouse, the dog. Too. It doesn't mean everything.
Right.
It's what's if you haven't mastered this, all it is a facade to make it look like, ah, look at I'm successful, I'm great, everything's great. No, it's not. You think it
Well,
is.
yeah, well, it comes down to how you define success for you. Right? And it's everything again, this just a mere reflection of who you are.
Yeah.
You don't need like I like to say it's a bonus to who you are. Right? The home is a bonus to who you are. If you love yourself and you feel yourself as valued and worthy, of course you're going to have a home that's valued and worthy and that you love because it's a perfect complement to you. Like you said before, when you love yourself, you find the perfect complement, not someone to complete you, but the perfect complement to that. It's the same thing in everything that you do. You find the perfect complement to everything. And you don't need the cars or the homes. Like they're great. You could want them, but you don't need them to fill
Right.
that cup up of who you are. You know who you are.
We're just
It's
about out of
again, it's
time.
a bonus.
I gotta ask this question.
Yeah.
Do you, Susan, have times where you waver a little bit in terms
Mhm.
of mastering what we're talking about?
That's 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
like we all do, right? Because remember, it's our programming, and our programming goes back to as far back as the day that you were born.
Right.
So there may be times, right, that I waver because there's a story that's still remotely stuck there that I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy to have, I don't deserve this. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, and then you have to sit with that part of you and be like, okay, what's going on? Like what triggered this? And you get to a point where you can kind of pinpoint it's like, okay, I
Yeah.
felt this way in this moment and this triggered me and you can tie it back to the like bringing the pattern back full circle and be like, okay, well, this happened to me when I was 12. This happened to me when I was in school. And it's like, okay, well, we're not 12 anymore. You're safe. We're a team now. I got you. And we're going to keep going. Right. So, but it's a practice. You have to keep practicing that self-compassion for yourself, you know who you are. You want to like we're human still. You're gonna make mistakes along the way, but it's coming back and being like, I'm okay. I love myself. We're good. And
The
coming
things you're
back.
saying right there,
Yeah,
I found this statement and I've shared it with others. I am not my thoughts. I am not my emotions. I am safe in this moment.
exactly. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because we think that's all us. I could keep going. This is great. This is
Yeah.
so important for people to understand, and I believe that we don't allow ourselves to because of we don't want to be perceived to have an ego to say, well, I love myself. Wow, look at them. You love yourself. Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's because we think that loving ourselves is a bad thing. And that's
right,
again, it's a
right.
story, but there's nothing wrong with like taking pride in who you are. There's nothing wrong in showing up in a way that is loving towards yourself. Because again, if you love yourself, the world is just going to reflect that back to you. It's literally the practice that you just need to keep going with every single day. It's a practice. It's discipline. It's making that commitment to yourself every morning when you get out of bed, being like, okay,
Mm.
who am I going to show up as today? Am I going to show up as loving myself, dedicated to myself, taking care of me, or am I going to show up as somebody that's, all over the place? You get to decide. I say this all the time. You have plan A, you have plan B. Pick which plan you want. Choose wisely because you have to get up every single day and be that person and keep going. And it's my mission to let people know that it really everything that you want in this world, it all starts with you. It's always inner then outer. You show that love to yourself, you're going to get that love back from the world 1,000 times over.
Yes. I did. It is the truth. It is the truth. And that's what I'm learning in my journey. And we're
Yeah.
all evolving along the way. Susan, how do we connect with you if we want to just get in touch with ourselves, figure this whole thing out? We
Yeah,
talked about manifestation before. This is really a part of it as well.
it is. This is the biggest part. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your website?
www.suecarabello.com.
Carabello, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Uh, love talking with you. Really do.
Thank you. This is great.
Yeah, your energy is amazing. Your passion for getting this word out. This is basic principles, but we kind of hide from it, and it's
Well, because
unfortunate.
we're not used to, we're not taught this kind of stuff. Um we're taught that, sometimes that love is outside of us when it actually begins with us. So
Yeah. Well
yeah,
said. You know what?
yeah,
I got to remember that so I can share that with somebody else. Yeah.
yes,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Thank you so much
Thank
for today, and we'll catch up next time. Okay.
you. Thanks.
Thanks. We'll be right back.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.